did you see the article that Melissa Melton wrote about why no-knock warrants are a bad idea?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Well,
I could not have said it better myself.
Well, but when you have a society that is being trained on rat out your neighbor, it started, a couple of decades ago with on the local newscast all over this country, where they'll have, somebody was in an auto accident or somebody was assaulted. And if you have a tip, call the tip line at 213 news or whatever it is. And you get $1,000, And that's really where it started. And that was the subtle form. Now they've moved into the ram it down your throat form of see something, say something. And so as far as a person having a gun tattooed at their waistline, I can see where people would overreact because they're overly stupid, first of all. And second, that's what they're being told to do. And as you and I both know, that's what they do. They do exactly what they're told to do. Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and I am here once again with my trusted co-host, Mr. Mark S. Mann. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, Rory. Hey, everybody.
And we have a great show lined up today. We've got a couple of different topics that we're gonna get into. Mark has actually put together an awesome document that he's going to go over, and it's called Operational Security as a Gun Owner. And he's going to go through that. I'm probably going to jump in in a couple of spots and give some commentary as well. And then we're going to go over a couple of the recent headlines regarding what's going on out in legislation land, and as far as what's going on in the gun world and what these tyrannical scumbags are trying to do to us, and the different approaches that they're currently taking. Nanny Bloomberg, spending $50 million, and $50 million will buy you a lot. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But now, Mark, go ahead and let's jump into this operational security as a gun owner.
Okay. First thing that we really need to talk about is that gun owners need to realize that there are other security issues concerning them other than the physical security issues of adequate and proper firearm storage. Security concerns do not end there. And I will refer to the other security issue that we need to be aware of as operational security. What I mean by that is that you need to be conscious of the personal footprint and signature you are projecting as a gun owner in public and online. Many gun owners are completely oblivious of this security issue and how it affects them. It's important to understand that your operational security as a gun owner may be just as important, or maybe possibly even be more important as your physical security, especially when it comes to theft. Okay? And in terms of preventing theft, if I were a criminal and I wanted to if I wanted to gain access to firearms, the first thing I would do is get access to a vehicle, get a pad and pencil, and get a digital camera or a phone camera. And I would go to my local gun shop and collect license plates and see who I could follow home. There's not much that you can do to prevent that, but you get the point. It's pretty easy to, if you had half a brain and you wanted to figure out who you needed to steal from, there's really a lot of ways as a criminal that you could go about doing that. Hell, in some places, you could read your local newspaper who thinks it's cute to put all the gun owners' names listed in the paper one time, right? We've seen. Okay, so it's not hard to find who has the guns out there if you intend to be creative. Okay.
Now, I'd never even thought about that, Mark, as far as going to a gun store. That's all that they sell are guns and ammunition. I never thought about somebody coming by and collecting license plate numbers. But, if you're a criminal, that's easy pickings.
I'm sure the American Gestapo does it all the time. But if that didn't work, you could go to your local shopping mall, a grocery store, and tell who's got guns without even being at a gun shop, because all you have to do is look at the gun and hunting related stickers and paraphernalia that people have on their car, and you could take down their license plates and look up that information on a variety of look up where these people live on a variety of vehicle registry websites, which are very inexpensive to use. That information is not protected; it's public information. And then once you have these vehicle owners' addresses, you could pay a visit to their house at a time of your leisure when you would expect the occupants to be at work and at school, and conduct surveillance of those premises to determine which are the most suitable to break into.
Now, we need to qualify this, because you are, in fact, a police officer, right?
Right.
And you do work in the firearms industry.
Right.
And what other credentials? Because I don't want people to think that we are, criminals or trying to encourage criminals. Let's run through your credentials so that people do understand that this comes from a knowledge base and not from a criminal base.
This is not a how-to manual. If anybody gets offended by the fact that, oh my God, you're telling criminals what to do, listen, I'm telling you this stuff because I know it's happened before. I'm not the first one out there that's saying this stuff. I am an executive in the firearms industry for a very well-known, reputable manufacturer. I am a part-time police officer with the rank of lieutenant. I work for 2 firearms training companies that specialize in training for law enforcement, and I've been a subject matter expert in this field for almost 20 years.
See, and there you go. That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want the audience to understand that, that we're not creating a how-to manual. We're trying to help you to understand how to better protect yourself.
And what this is an example of is how your insured by Smith Wesson bumper sticker, or how proud CDLL holder is a magnet and a sign that will bring a thief to your door. Do not ever be naive to think that this does not happen, okay? When this is what we're talking about, operational security as a gun owner, projecting your image as a gun owner in public and online. You are creating a footprint for yourself by doing that, okay? The other thing that people need to realize is that by doing stuff like that, by wearing a Glock t-shirt out in public, or a camouflage Mossberg or Browning hat out in public, you are making yourself a potential target if there's a possibility of a confrontation. And what I mean by that is, if I were a criminal or an active shooter type person and I wanted to assault or attack a group of people, I would attack the person that I perceived to be the greatest threat to me first. Do you think that a guy wearing a camo hat or a Glock t-shirt would stick out in a crowd if that were your intention? I would shoot the person that would be the greatest perceived threat to me first, okay? And do you think the guy that is wearing a Glock t-shirt may have one in his waistband? It would be not that hard of an assumption, especially to somebody that didn't have a lot of sense or was slightly or totally insane. So it sounds common sense, and people want to blow it off, but a lot of people don't think about it. They don't really think about it that hard, and So what I'm trying to say here is, you shouldn't wear gun-related clothing or anything that would identify you as a gun owner, and places where it would easily stick you out and make you a more likely target. Okay, if you like wearing in using a backpack, avoid using a military backpack that's covered in molly, or something that's camouflaged, that brings a lot of unwanted attention to you. I've been guilty of it myself, but I really wasn't as cognizant of it until I realized that people were sizing me up and looking at me because I had certain things. Okay, so that's really important, and you have to pick your spots. Am I saying that you should never do that? Well, never is kind of a hard word to use, but if you're going somewhere where you do not want to be identified, you have to realize there's a time and place for everything. Okay, and the same holds true when it comes to making yourself less of a target for law enforcement. Having a vehicle with gun-related stickers or hunting paraphernalia will also increase your chances of being noticed by anti-gun law enforcement, or allowing you to become a target by law enforcement profiling you. Avoid like camo seat covers. Avoid things that scream, "I'm a gun owner" or "I'm transporting firearms." As the political climate changes, you want to keep as low of a profile as possible in order to be free from harassment by overzealous police officers who are anti-gun.
Which there are a lot of.
Yes.
And they're growing day by day.
50%. 50% of the police that you run into are going to be anti-Second Amendment. Wow. Teach your children not to discuss the fact that you and your family own firearms. And when I say children, I mean basically, even your wife or your older kids. Make sure your family members don't discuss the fact that you have firearms with people that you're not sure where they stand on those things, especially with the kids' teachers. Yes. It's none of the teacher's business that you have firearms in the house. And in a culture and society where kids are being indoctrinated and programmed in school to be anti-gun, the last thing you would want is to be in a situation where they're basically saying that your child lives in a dangerous environment because there's firearms in the house, and now there's a safety issue to your child. We've seen this happen before, where parents have posted a picture on Facebook with their kid shooting somewhere or holding a gun, and then all of a sudden Child Protective Services gets involved, and there's a whole big issue. Okay, so people need to think about that and realize that what people know about you can hurt you. What they don't know about you can't hurt you. Okay, it's none of their business.
It's none of their business.
It's none of their business. And if you choose to make it their business, either willingly or by accident, there could be negative consequences to you for that. Something as innocent as you posting a picture of you having a nice afternoon outside in the outdoors shooting with your child could turn into a nightmare for you. Okay?
Well, and I had to explain that to my wife, because what happened is that she was having conversations with some of her friends, telling them things about different situations that we had going on at our house. And it's like, I don't care who it is. We don't talk about that, because it's not anybody's business. There could be more involved in the conversation than just guns. I mean, there could be other things that you really don't want to share with people. You don't want to make yourself a target on any level.
One of the other things that we should really look at is, transportation of your firearms when it comes to operational security, loading them and unloading them from your vehicle. Try to do that from free of as many prying eyes as possible. Nosy neighbors or passersby on the street or in vehicles. Try to do this through a garage or by backing the vehicle up to a door, or try to do it in times of possible darkness, if possible, when and where practical. Meaning, hey, if you get home from the range and it's 5:30 at night and it's going to be dark in another half hour, go inside, wash up, have some dinner, and come back out and get them when it's dark. Try to purchase gun cases in range bags that look inconspicuous. Avoid bags and cases that are camouflage or solid military colors like OD green and tan. Avoid cases that have the name of a firearms manufacturer on the case or the bag. Don't have a gun case that has Ruger splashed on the side of it. These are dead giveaways to even the untrained eye that you are transporting firearms. If you have a gun case that says Smith and Wesson or Remington on it, most people know what that means. You don't have to have something that screams what's in the bag. It's not going to help you. The other thing that we can talk about on this subject is the footprint that you leave online. And this is getting harder and harder to do. And for some people, it's just not practical depending on where you live. But you need to be cognizant of the fact that it is an issue. And what I'm getting to is the fact that you can leave a footprint online when you're buying gun and firearm related parts, accessories, ammunition. People need to try to reduce their online fingerprint to make it harder for the powers that be to know exactly what you have. When possible, try to use cash at gun shops and retail locations instead of using your credit or debit cards. We know that the information from credit and debit card purchases is stored and analyzed. So don't make it easy for them to do that. Think about that. Who needs to know that? So don't make it easy for them to do that. In closing on this, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of scenarios and things that we can talk about, do's and don'ts. But I'm saying these things so people get the big picture and they start to think about these things where they may be practical or not practical practices for them to follow. Okay. There's going to be people out there that would say the things that I've mentioned here sound paranoid. Okay. But if you live in an area of the country where the culture allows you to be less concerned with these issues, that's great. But a lot of us, me included, live in urban areas or in the American Northeast where the political climate is obviously rabidly anti-gun and getting more so by the day, where you never can be too careful because we now live in a if you see something, say something snitch culture. Well, there's things that you can do to make yourself be less likely to be affected. And, what I said just a minute ago was one of my favorite sayings is, the old saying of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And you have to be careful that, you're not doing things to enable these people that are looking to entrap you, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's, an overzealous police officer. Don't give somebody an in. There, a lot of times people invite the problems that they have unwillingly and unconsciously into their lives. And if they're conscious about these issues and they're practical, a little prevention will go a long way in terms of countering any problems or issues that they may have otherwise faced.
There's no sense in advertising anything, calling attention to yourself or having discussions out in public, but just know that there are criminal elements that are taking advantage of that or that can take advantage of that, and they do take advantage of it. Why would I want to put my family in harm's way when all I have to do is nothing, literally do nothing? It just makes it so much easier. I mean, and as far as, carrying a weapon in some type of labeled bag, I would never do that.
If you don't want to have the problem, all you have to do is not wear it. I'm not saying throw it in the garbage and don't ever wear it again. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there's a time and a place for everything.
Yes.
And that responsible person is going to be cognizant about the fact that he has to think about where the best places to wear or not to wear some of those things are.
Let's jump over to the gentleman that has a burr in your backside all of a sudden. It's Sean Van Diver.
Yeah.
And it's an article that's posted over at the Daily Beast, and the title is "A Former Navy Firearms Instructor and Proud Gun Owner on why we need common sense gun control. This guy is, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about how Nanny Bloomberg has $50 million to spend. This would be one of the shills that he would spend some money on. This article is just unbelievable. I want to let you, I know that, like I said, Mark, you got a burr in your backside on this one, so.
Yeah, we're going to post the link to the article so people can take a look at it for themselves. But this is the type of individual that people like Nanny Bloomberg are going to use in his anti-gun organization. And I this morning wrote an email to Mr. Van Diver calling him out for the bullshit that he published in this article. And this is a perfect example of somebody who has credentials in law enforcement, who totes himself as a responsible gun owner, as a proud gun owner, yet he's out there making all kinds of ridiculous recommendations to what responsible and sensible gun control would be. And I want people to really take a look at this article and read it. It's just absolutely ridiculous, some of the things that he talks about, one of which is getting insurance companies involved in this issue. And by bringing an insurance company in, you're creating another line of business to come in and smash people over the head with. Yep. Americans have enough insurance, and usually we get nothing out of it except litigation and bills.
Exactly. Okay. And one of the things that he says that I really take exception to is, and I'm just going to read this, and it's and this is quoting from the article, and it's prudent limits need to be imposed. We should consider putting a cap on the number of firearms purchased for personal use. Allowances could be made for licensed gun dealers, but home protection and hunting don't require individuals to keep an arsenal. At the very least, misdemeanors such as DUIs, drug charges, and white-collar crimes should be added to the list of crimes that preclude offenders from owning firearms. What he's saying is that if you've had a DUI, if you've ever smoked weed and gone to jail for it, if you are a criminal on Wall Street, that you shouldn't be allowed to own guns, regardless. Currently, the way that the law is structured is that if you're a felon...
Yeah, unless that is, you're a police officer like him, and you have law enforcement credentials, in which case you would be exempted from all those rules.
Exactly.
What a hypocrite.
It's a total hypocrite. And the fact that he's once again referencing hunting and home protection as being the reason for owning guns, the Second Amendment was never, ever, has nothing to do with home protection, nor does it have anything to do with hunting. Second Amendment is about the citizenry being able to defend themselves and to overthrow the government, period. That's what the Second Amendment is about. The founding fathers, that's why they fought to put that into place.
Even alludes to the fact that you're paranoid if you believe that the government is coming for your guns, which is laughable. I'm glad you're laughing at that. It makes me angry, and I know there's going to be people out there that have listened to me, over the last 2 years or so that say, wow, Mark really sounds pissed off. I am pissed off because this is an example of somebody being used as a shill by the prostitute anti-gun media, somebody that is looked at as an expert, and this is how they're gonna come at us. Another thing that this guy is doing, which really annoys the hell out of me, is he's getting to the fact that one of the ways to improve safety and to eliminate a lot of the issues that we see is that we should have mandatory psychiatric evaluations of people that are firearms owners. In other words, to get the license to own a gun, you have to go through a psychiatric evaluation, and that has to be renewed every 5 years, let's say. Okay. This kind of segues into something that we were going to talk about, another topic, which is the fact that, this whole misnomer by the media and the anti-gun powers that be are trying to get doctors and mental health professionals into the gun control debate to make it seem like this is a public health issue. Nothing could be from the truth. Okay, the issue is that a nation of laws does not punish law-abiding citizens for the actions of criminals and insane people. You're not going to hold the law-abiding citizens responsible for criminal misdeeds. Anybody that doesn't see that, we're just wasting their breath having the discussion, because you cannot punish the rest of society for the criminal misdoings of a tiny percentage of the overall people.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because it is what we're talking about is a very tiny percentage of criminals, the criminal element, in comparison to, like you said, it's 300. There's 310, 315 million people in this country, and you said 300 million guns, over 300 million guns. Less than 0.5% of the populace of this country would be considered criminals. Why is it that these people are always the ones that get all of the news? I mean, I understand they're breaking the law and we need to pay attention, but they're not. They shouldn't be the ones that are dictating everything that happens. They should not ever dictate what happens in my home. You don't pass laws against law-abiding citizens because of the actions of criminals.
Well, the thing that I want to point out too is, if anybody takes the time to look at this guy's article, my question to him is, how would this eliminate the possibility of anything of any of the things that you're worried about happening? Do you think that your local gang banger or any of the people that are committing these crimes are going to say, oh, well, you know what? I just realized I'm a week past the deadline for my psychiatric evaluation. I better go and get that taken care of. I mean, it's ridiculous. None of these things are going to bring back anybody that was killed. And we have already seen in American history where prohibition doesn't work. You're not going to get people to stop doing anything. All you're going to do is open a black market and criminalize people. And I wonder if that's really their intent. Because, hey, if you want the unlimited power to be able to go in and do no-knock search warrants on anybody's house that owns a firearm, just criminalize them. And presto changeo, you have millions of felons that you now have an excuse to go in and kick their door anytime you want.
There you have it.
So a responsible society does not punish the law-abiding citizens because of the criminal actions of a tiny fraction of the people. This is the reason why we bring this up, folks, is because you're going to see more and more idiots like this guy, Van Diver, coming to the forefront. I think we're going to see more and more stuff like this in the future from guys like this who are put out, hey, I'm a gun owner. Hey, I have all these credentials, and this is why we need to do this kind of stuff. Yes. I just think that this is the type of person that people like Manny Bloomberg are going to recruit to do their bidding. And, $50 million is a lot of money to throw around, and you could definitely sway a lot of public opinion with people that have those types of credentials. So I think it's something that, we really need to be cognizant of.
And I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. I mean, we've got to be aware of what's going on all the time, not only with our personal lives, but we really need to be on the lookout for these types of articles that are they're just gonna be everywhere, and these people are going to be on television, They're going to be literally everywhere.
There's 2 in one day with just 5 minutes of scanning the headlines. Okay, so the general public is going to be bombarded with this stuff over the next 2 years. They know that they're not going to get any traction with this during an election year, this interim election year, and they're going to push really hard for this in 2016. Make no mistake about it. They are reorganizing themselves and getting ready to put this effort together for the future, for the near future.
Very near future.
Very big push in the next 2 years with this stuff.
Exactly. Okay? And on that, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Do share this video if you like it. Comment if you like it. If you don't like it, comment. Otherwise, we'll talk with you very soon. Thank you so much. And thanks, Mark, for your time. I really appreciate it.